Hi, this is Matt. In this video, we're talking about hiring a developer shop versus working with our startup studio, the benefits of doing that. So let's talk a little bit. So you have an idea and you want to get all the way to exit. What happens between here and here? So you probably have this idea of, I want to build XYZ, and you've been talking to ChatGPT and it's trying to, AI is reinforcing, hey, that's a great idea. Actually, did you know that these AI platforms like ChatGPT, Grok, all these platforms are built in a way to just validate and just say, that's a great idea, that's a great idea, that's a great idea. What they found when they developed their technology for their AI chatbot is that more reinforcement or more, hey, you're so smart, hey, you're the best. It gets you to come back and stick longer. So actually these AIs are built to help you fail. They're built to make you think that your idea is great when you're not forcing it into stress testing and validating. So what you should be doing, instead of just living in this pool of, just basically an echo chamber of, hey, you're great, you're wonderful, you're so smart, this is a great idea. Like living in this echo chamber and then going immediately to build, if we put build right here, that's where people are failing. And that's what these people on Upwork, TopTal, every single one of these platforms, they are there to bill hours. Their entire metric is built upon them billing you hours. And the more bad feature ideas, or the more your MVP bloats, or the more whatever it is that ChatGPT or whatever platform is telling you to do that is a terrible idea, that it's reinforcing as a good idea, the more you're going to spend in your development. So I got off the phone with a guy, it was about 2 weeks now, and he hired 12 developers because AI told him to. And he hired 12 developers, spent $300,000, and still, 12 months later, still doesn't have any product. If I were to price that out the way that I take a project and stress test and move through, it would have cost $30,000, $40,000. It would have been based upon his idea and what the market needed for market penetration, and we're going to talk about these steps in a second. What it needed in order to penetrate the market was a fraction of what he spent, and we would have done it in 60 days. But the problem is these AI bots are built to reinforce, hey, build that. Hey, continue building that. And don't even get me started on vibe coding. Like you go and you start vibe coding in Replit, Lovable, whatever. They're giving you stupid feature ideas to put into your app. And the reason why it's doing that is every single time you prompt, you're paying them more money. So the more bloated your product is, where you're building something that no one wants and no one needs, the more bloated it is, the more money everybody makes, except for you, because you're coming cash out of pocket. So how do we do things? We take it from idea to validation. So we want to validate We want to validate that idea. How do we validate that idea? So we put it through some stress tests and we force into the stress test. We'll look for product market fit. So does the demand actually, do people actually want this? And we have a process to do this to validate if the market actually wants it. Typically before I write a single line of code, I do this and I validate. Again, build is like over here and I haven't written a single line of code and I'm already validating if the market wants it. So demand is something big that we're looking for, and what people are willing to pay for it. Pay for app. What are people willing to pay for it? So we answer all of these questions in the validation, and if so, then we're able to move on and we go to the next step of the process. Now we look at scope. So scope of work, or whatever you want to call it, let's just say MVP build. So we're not building it yet. We're just planning out the MVP build. Inside of there, we go for our scope of work of what needs to be developed, and then we make it super lean. You know, what is going to be our go-to-market strategy? We plan that out for our market penetration. So what is it going to take to penetrate the market? What is the minimum product that we need to develop in order to go to market and penetrate the market? What is our go-to-market strategy? So oftentimes what we'll do is we'll look at how can we leverage other people's audiences? How can we leverage other influence? How can we leverage other people's trust and authority? Because if you don't have that, if you don't have tens of thousands of people that are following you on social media and everyone loves everything you do, and every time you post, you get thousands of views. Like, the problem is when people have an idea and they go through this AI process, they go straight to build. And then they're wondering, why is nobody buying my product? Why can't I get people to come in? So I've talked to 300 founders over the last 30 days. And in talking to those 300 founders, this is the number one thing that we keep seeing. And then they skip directly to, after this, we do the build. And what they're doing is they're skipping from idea all the way to build. That's what happens when you go to Upwork, you create a profile, you post up your great job idea, you have 100 or even 1,000 people messaging you saying, oh yeah, that sounds great. Oh yeah, that sounds great. And then you're talking to them about phases, like phase 1, we're gonna build this, phase 2, oh, that sounds great. All they're thinking about as a dev shop in their mind is cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. They're only thinking about how they're getting paid, and they absolutely don't care what happens after the build. They might say that they do, but they don't. And take it from me. Okay, I've spent millions of dollars in developers, hiring developers over the years. We got down to the point that we found one agency, we work with them, we brought them in as a full-time agency, and we've had exits together, and everything is just so cohesive. Our entire working relationship just works. We always deliver on time, we always deliver the best product, and we always deliver what the market wants. That's why we work so well together. So I have one team. You know how many teams I had to go through in order to get to that one team? So if you said, Matt, I'm gonna do this without your studio and I'm just gonna build kind of what you did. Cool, earmark $1 million cash, hard cash, $1 million. Great, do what I did. Do you not wanna spend $1 million? Great, you can, by way of working with us, spend my $1 million into learning how to find the right team to build something in order to go to market, scale, and have amazing wins together, right? So I've gone through all these teams. I've worked with so many people, and every single time I try to hire people, or when we're trying to bring on new people, I have a process on how I hire these people. And I really make them go through that process. And I want to understand, are they just going to bill hours? And are we going to miss our scope? Are we going to miss, all these things? So for us as a studio, we do all of this, and we do all of this. Because of this and this is successful. And then from there, we can go to scale, and then exit. And we do this over and over again with our companies that we work with. So I don't want to build the wrong product. And I talked to a guy actually yesterday, and on the call, I told him, I will not take money from you, period, end of story, because he's so in love with this idea, fell in love with this idea, ready to get married to his idea. I'm sorry, I will not work with you. I will never take a penny from you ever, because you love your idea. If you fall in love with your idea like this, it's going to be painful. You're not going to want to go through it. When you start really drilling down to a lean MVP, you're in love with your idea. Like you just absolutely think that that's what the market wants. And although you ask 2 or 3 of your friends that are like, yeah, that's a great idea. Or you're talking to AI, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, yeah, the market really needs that. The problem is, the market probably doesn't want it. And if you want to invest all this money and go straight from idea to build and spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, be my guest. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're wasting everything. So in our incubator program, it's an incubator to accelerator. What we do is we focus on this, we focus on this, and we'll focus on capital as well. So let's put capital on here, because capital is important to make sure that we have capital here, here and here is really important to have capital as you're growing and scaling. And also, if you're thinking, I just want to build this thing, I don't want to exit. If you're thinking about taking on investors or talking to investors, the only thing the investor wants is this. Because often, when you do take on investors, you're not paying them a rev share. You're not paying them based upon the revenue that's coming in for the business. So they put in capital here or here, and they don't get paid until here. So if you're not talking about an exit, if you're not talking about a liquidation event, or if you're just, we'll just go to an IPO, whatever, that's unrealistic. You need to have a clear path to exit. Everything from here down, from here to here, all of this, all it is math. That's all it is. This entire thing is one math equation. And what we do is we work on that math during this process, we work on the math here, and then that math equation is what ends up becoming this. So how much do we need to spend in ads? So you have multiple ways to acquire clients and acquire customers. What is the cost of acquisition for a customer? All this math needs to be done. It's done in the validation process. Like, how do we reach customers? How do we do this? We have to plan out the math piece. So we understand, we can spend $100 a day in ads. We can do organic, maybe pick up a couple of sales. We can do cold outreach. We can do partnerships. We can do referrals. We can do affiliates. We can do all these things. Awesome. That's all math. How do we work the math out to make it make sense so we can grow and scale a business? How can we have the fuel to fuel the growth of this company in order to grow and scale? So I've done this so many different ways. I've worked with companies I own, but also worked with companies in the studio to help them to build that math algorithm of how we do this. Everything is math. What is our cost per lead? What is our cost per acquisition? What is our lifetime value? How long are they sticking around? What is our churn going to be? During this process, we investigate the idea and we dig into market competition. We look into competitive mode. We look into all these pieces as part of product market fit and demand. And we start to drill down to what is it going to take to actually take this product to market? And at this point, again, we haven't written a single line of code. We are working through the math problem. We are working through building the game plan in order to grow and scale. And again, if you're raising capital at this point, I do recommend actually building a product before trying to raise capital. That's another point, is if you're trying to raise capital ahead of time, that in order to build your MVP, that is the most expensive capital you will ever take on. So if you have friends and family that believe in what you're doing, if you can bring on a co-founder, one really cool way that I like doing it is I'll take a look at who has this demand for this product, and I will reach out to a big company and I will offer them equity in the business if they put up cash for it, so they could actually fund the project if it's a product for them, if it's something they would want to use. They could fund the MVP build before we actually build it. They could be an equity partner, and then when we do deploy, they would be our first case study and so forth. So we do that a lot, and that definitely works on B2B software. But if you're trying to build a consumer product, that doesn't necessarily work unless you have a friend or a family member that can come in and believe in what you're doing and come in at this point. But typically investors don't invest pre-MVP, they'll invest after. So we need to have our deck ready and we need to have all of our math figured out on how we're gonna go from here to here and how we're gonna build each piece. So typically in my build, we build on sprints, and I keep really tight sprints. And if you talk to anyone that worked with me over any period of time, over the last 20 years, we keep our sprints very refined. So if we get on a call and we start brainstorming on the call, and when we're going over where we're at in the sprint, oh, I have this new idea. Or, I woke up this morning, I took a shower and I came up with this new idea. Listen, it's not in the sprint. We have to stay focused. We can put it into our roadmap for future sprints, but it's not in this sprint. We need to go. But if we made this one tweak, okay, if you want to make a tweak to the sprint, we're adding 2 or 3 weeks to the sprint, and we have to push it out further. We keep it so tight and so refined that we deliver on time every single time because we don't have slippery scopes. We don't have those issues. So it's so important, have a clear sprint, clear build, clear roadmap on where we're going and what next steps are, and a clear go-to-market strategy. So what we're doing is we're typically building our go-to-market strategy into the app. So this isn't an afterthought of like, build's done, now we have to do our go-to-market. When you go and hire a developer on Upwork, TopTal, your neighbor's cousin's son, whatever, they don't understand go-to-market, and they're not building your go-to-market strategy inside your app. Listen, I built an app with 350,000 users when I exited, and I spent $0 in advertising. How? I built my go-to-market strategy to have a referral program inside the app that was built into the core function of the app. So when you ran the function based upon curiosity and said, hey, that's cool, I would like to know that information, run your free scan. You ran your scan, hey, how would you like to tell your friends about this? And also, you can earn affiliate commissions if they sign up. Oh, cool, I want to share it out with my friends. We built that. And when I did build it, at this point in time, at the idea phase, this was March 1st, I didn't start on the build until March 7th. I validated the idea and had 2,000 people opt in from my Facebook page, 2,000 people opt in before I even built a single line of code. So when I did go to market at this point in time, it only took me about 60 days to go to market. When I did go to market and I had the order page and everything all there, we had thousands of people sign up. I made my entire investment back, again, math, made my entire investment back on launch day. And then we went to scale. And in this situation, we did scale through an affiliate program. And those 2,000 people turned into 350,000 people on the platform, and I exited. And this was a massively successful business. I operated at a 92% profit margin. I had one employee, and we exited, and it was massive. Like, buying cars, luxury stuff, doing blah, 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 blah. All the cool stuff that comes from exiting a business. And then I have the knowledge and the ability, and I do it again, and I do it again, and I do it again. This is the opportunity where you come in, you work with us, we go through each step of this process. Our incubator accelerator program will take you from here and then into here. We plan out the scope of work. Also, another really cool thing about our program, it does cost money, but every dollar that you spend up to $10,000 in our incubator program goes towards your first sprint. So you make the investment into here, and if you move forward with us to have us develop the technology for you, that $10,000 goes towards your first sprint. So it's kind of a deposit into your future success. So get started, jump onto our incubator program. You can read all about it. Click the link below. Get started into our program, and let's start accelerating you. And scaling looks different for everybody, so I'm not going to write that out. But we build, we go to scale, we go to exit, we rinse and repeat. The average person that comes into our program ends up building 3 businesses with us, because we do one and it goes so well, we start making a ton of money. We reinvest back into the business to make more products and more businesses and more really cool stuff together. And we build multiple companies together, and we have multiple exits together. So when you work with me, we're going to do this over and over and over again. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Buy houses, buy investment houses, reinvest, cost segregation, blah, 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 blah. You can talk to my accountant about that stuff. I'm more than happy to connect you with my accountant to start protecting your assets and all the other things. So I am not a financial advisor. I cannot give financial advice, but we do have people that we can connect you to. You can talk to them, talk to your own financial advisor, whatever. But this is rinse and repeat, guys. And it's just math. We're doing it over and over and over again. That's what a startup studio does. That's not what developer shops do. And typically developer shops, they're just building. They're constantly just building. They're going from idea, build, 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 and they never move past this phase. So if you want to work with a real company, if you want to work with a real studio that will help you get 30% faster results, 30% higher wins, and overall bigger exits. I have people that want to buy apps from me. They email me like once a month saying, hey, do you have any other apps that are ready for exit? That's what a startup studio does. So if you have any questions, you can always comment below and more than happy to answer. If you want to hop on a call, you'll have an opportunity on the next page that you could book a call if you have any questions. Otherwise, let's get you into our incubator accelerator program and let's get to work. Let's start building, rinse and repeat, and start having really big wins together. Look forward to seeing you in there.